There we go. So if you have any questions, you can text me, and here we go with the show. Boy, we got a bunch of stuff about security today. We're going to talk a little bit about the dark web. What does it mean to you? We've got more information out there. U.S. soldiers now have revealed the location of some secret bases. We'll tell you how. Believe me, they weren't planning on this happening. Microsoft has issued an emergency Windows update. We'll tell you what that is. That came out just this week. Jackpotting ATMs. Seen the first cases of it here in the U.S. This has been happening over in Europe for a while. What does that mean? What are they doing? What should you look out for? Especially if you are in a business, a small business, one of those little standalone ATMs. A lot of people don't realize, but many of those ATMs are owned by private parties and they're being hacked. We'll talk just a brief bit about it, VPNs. I'm thinking maybe I should do special little course on VPNs and how to use them, and who is providing great services for free or for cheap money, because there are a few of them out there. Let me know if you think we should talk a little bit about the VPNs, or maybe have a special report on that. Home cyber threats and breaches, stuff that's going on right now. We just have a whole bunch of stuff. NSA, did you know the National Security Agency has some voice recognition systems? Yeah, they can use your echo. Google Home here, it looks like. In order to find Waldo, or maybe find you, Tim Cook, CEO over at Apple, of course, they are huge in social media, providing hardware for it. So, what is Tim Cook saying about letting your kids use social media? That and a whole lot more. Stick around. Here we go. I am running a little bit behind today, let me tell you. I am going to send out right now to our insiders a little notification about today. So let's see here. You've soldier compromise sensitive information by job and more. So copy that. I'm going to send this out. Anybody who subscribes to my insiders list here via SMS gets these little reminders from me. So here we go. All right, here we go. I am in the process right now of sending out, here we go, sending out a little text message to all of our listeners who have subscribed to my insiders list. Now, you can do that by just texting my name, Craig, that's C-R-A-I-G, to me right here in the studio. In fact, you can do that anytime, any day, 24/7. It goes to me, which is 855-385-5553. So I will send you out a little text message at the start of the live show to remind you. Now, we're also doing Facebook Live here this morning as well. And what's kind of interesting about that is we've had a lot of comments. I had almost 1,000 views, I think it was, on last week's show. And we cover all of this great information. And I really, really appreciate you guys sharing this with your friends and neighbors. And I ask you to do that. Take a couple of minutes. Let them know about the show. Let them know about why you appreciate the show, why it makes a difference in your life, because it does. I get that all the time from people. And the easiest way for you to do that is just to go to my website. And I have an email address. I have Facebook. You can email me at craigpeterson.com with any comments that you might have. We also have a special Facebook group, which you can find if you just go to craigpeterson.com/Facebook. Okay, all of that information is there. You'll find it, and hopefully you'll appreciate and you'll enjoy it. There we go. Now it's showing up on my Facebook live feed. But I really do appreciate it, and we put so much work, so much effort into the show every week, and sending out the special alerts, doing things for you guys. Remember last September, we sent out dark web reports for our listeners. So if you asked me, I did a dark web report, and we sent out, there were 1,400 people that applied for those dark web reports. So I thought that was really cool, and we spent some time doing that. And it's well worth the time, okay? It's well worth the time on our part. But the more people we have listening, watching, the better. The more people that are able to go and listen on iHeart. That's great, because the radio stations we're on AM and FM radio. Those stations need to pay the bills to keep the lights on, right? If you're watching on Facebook Live, you can see I'm sitting in front of a radio station microphone today. And this is the main station that we use. It goes out to other stations and streams online, but they've got bills to pay too. So if you want to subscribe and get the notifications about what what we're going to talk about, and particularly notifications that the show's coming on the air, and I send out notifications when there's emergency things happening. And we're going to talk about one of those today. I didn't mention it in the opening, but there is a huge, we're getting people texting in right now. Again, 855-385-5553. But I didn't mention it in the opening, but I want to start with that. And let me go through my huge stack of articles today. I do a lot of curation of the articles that I think are important, and we send those out also every Saturday morning. So I want you to go to this URL and just take a minute and do this, because I think it's really important. But you can subscribe to my email list, okay? And the easiest way to subscribe to the email list is just to go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe. I really ask you to do that. And part of the reason I think you should do that is we've got a special thing coming for you, something special on Wednesday this week, after I'm on with Jim Polito down at WTAG and all of his affiliates, which cover Mass. WGAN as well, and I'm on WGIR this week. So after I'm on with these guys, I am going to be releasing some stuff on Wednesday. And I want you to get it, but the only way you're going to get it is if you're on my email list. And right now, there's about 4,500 people on that list. We're trying to get it up to 5,000, and I love it. I appreciate everybody who's listening to the show and who gets my weekly show notes. But this week on Wednesday, look for something special. If you're not getting my Saturday morning emails, make sure you go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe, and you can get my emails right there. And there's all kinds of great information, including the articles we will not have time to get to today. We just can't get to everything on Saturday in an hour. There just isn't enough time. All right, so we're going to talk about this huge vulnerability. Now, it's interesting because one of my clients is a multinational corporation. They have offices and plants all around the world, in all major countries around the world. So the IT director, the corporate IT director, sent out something on, I think it was Friday, an email saying, "Oh no, there's this huge vulnerability, oh no." And said, "Uninstall this software from all of your computers immediately," which, by the way, is not a bad idea. But we sent back a response saying, well, a week and a half ago, because of the software tool stack that we have, none of the offices or plants of your corporation that we are doing security for, none of them have ever been vulnerable to this. However, a lot of anti-malware, antivirus software is vulnerable to it. So we'll talk about that when we get back. When I reveal the name of the company, you will not be surprised. Okay, this shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody that kind of knows what's going on, but we'll talk about it, what the problem is, and maybe a little bit of what you should do. So stick around. We will be right back. You're listening to Craig Peterson. So that's my signal I give to the producer who is operating the board, Jeremy. Can you hear? This is what we get to listen to during the commercial breaks, a little bit of music. Jeremy then triggers the commercials, and because we're part of a network and the show is heard on multiple stations, we provide a feed that goes out to these stations of the audio. And there's actually, you may not know this, but there's different commercials that air on every one of these different radio stations that are out there. A little behind the scenes secret. So what we do is my producer here triggers the commercials to play in the other station. And these stations have different commercial sets, but there's only one station that actually has someone there operating things. And in this case, it's Jeremy. So just from the one place, he can have multiple people, or multiple stations that are covering everything. In fact, that's true. When I'm on the air on Monday mornings during drive time, there's, I think we're up to 10 or 12 stations now. And all of those other stations are just automated at that point during the show. So when I'm on the air, you're hearing me certainly on all of these stations, but they all have different call signs, they all have different advertisers, they all have different advertisements. It's really kind of cool when you get right down to it, but just how technically advanced it all is. But I still do this show live almost every time, unless I'm going to be out of town for a meeting or training or a customer or something. But right now, I don't have any of that scheduled for a little bit, so I'm going to be live for a while. I don't know if you saw this, but we've got the Winter Olympics coming up, and in fact, coming up next week. And they are really trying to secure South Korea. And it's not just because of North Korea and the potential threat there of real life warfare, but they're trying to secure all of the guests and visitors against terrorist attacks. And now, of course, we've got cybersecurity concerns. There's a great article that came out this week, and it was talking about the Olympics and the fact that they have already been targeted. And of course, that's not going to end until after the Olympics are finished. But they're saying that Pyongyang North Korea is probably going to be the biggest hacker, trying to hack into everything that's down there. And obviously, it will be the most hacked game in history because, we've got the latest technology nowadays. There was one Russian link campaign that's stolen and leaked embarrassing documents from the Olympic organizations already. So, interesting. All right, here we are, your nerd in chief, as it were. During the break there, I was talking with our Facebook Live people about Olympics and how they are already targeted and been hacked. In fact, the Russians and North Korea have been very busy hacking the Olympics. So we might be in for some surprises next week. And also talk a little bit about how the whole radio station thing works, because I'm on multiple stations. How does that all work? So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, you can go to my Facebook Live stream. You'll find that online. You can just go to craigpeterson.com/Facebook, and you'll see all of that information right there. And I just put that up on the Facebook feed as well. And I have a special closed group that I invite my listeners to. And this is my e-security coach group, where people ask me questions all the time about different security things. And in fact, right now we're posting in that group some of these security articles from today. And then we also put it out on the Twitter feed, which you can find. I think this is kind of unsurprising to most people. You can find my Twitter feed online at craigpeterson.com/Twitter. Is that a surprise? And then, of course, I'm just at Craig Peterson over Twitter. So we post all of the stuff on the Twitter account, too. And don't forget, keep an eye on your mailboxes. Email box this Wednesday. I've got a special something coming for you on Wednesday. The only way that you can find out about it is to be on my email list. And I put out weekly newsletter as well as we'll let you know when there are problems out there at craigpeterson.com/subscribe. Okay, so we were talking about vulnerabilities. And in case you're not aware of it, there's a certain classification of vulnerabilities called a zero-day attack. Now, this is what my company really specializes in. Mainstream, if you have to narrow it down, right? Why would someone hire a managed security company? Because you can buy antivirus software, right? In fact, if you buy a Windows computer, it comes with it pre-installed, right? A 30-day free license from Norton or Symantec or someone else. And Microsoft has built into it a couple of other tools for security. So why would you hire a managed security services firm? And the answer is pretty simple when you get right down to it. None of those free tools and none of the basic consumer-grade paid tools are good enough. You know, we had the CEO of one of these companies resign because he admitted that their software was pretty much useless. And Norton and Symantec and all of these others are at best now, it's down to 60% effective. Okay? So they're just not very effective at all, frankly. So what we do is we go beyond that. Why are they ineffective? Why did the head of Symantec say that their software was pretty much useless? Because of zero-day attacks. A zero-day attack is an attack that has never been seen before. Okay? Now that's a big deal. What does it mean it's never been seen before? Right, Craig? How many different types of attacks are there out there? Well, there's major classifications of attacks. There's ransomware, right? We know about that one. And underneath it, it's using things like viruses or worms or clickbait, right? All these different things in order to do the attack. Well, on top of that is the payload, which is the ransomware. And there are literally hundreds of thousands, now actually millions of variants of these different types of viruses, worms, trojans, etc. So what happens is when it comes into your computer, the antivirus software says, hey, have I seen this before? Now, right now, we've got this nasty flu that's spreading across the country, right? So just think about a normal day. You get up, you're feeling great, you're running around, you're getting everything done, you got your morning coffee, your day is fantastic, right? Everyone's had those days. And then you get this flu. So now you got aches, you got pains, you're coughing, which is what this particular flu is mostly about, and maybe you're vomiting, doing something else nasty. Sorry to have to bring those pictures to mind, right? But that's a virus, right? That's what's going on. That's what the flu is. That's what the cold is. They're viruses. Now you can also get bacterial infections, supplement to that, but it's a virus. Think back. Have you ever had a virus before? When you were a kid, did you have a virus? All right, yeah. The answer is yes, of course you've had a virus before. Well, why did you get this virus? Why did you get the H3N1? Well, you got it because it is a slightly different version of a virus. So even though you had it before and your body now knows how to fight that old virus, you've got a zero-day attack. You just got a virus that your body had never seen before that you did not know how to fight. So now you're sick. Now you've got that cough, right? You may have the runny nose, you got the headache, you got the aches and pains because you caught the latest variant of the virus. So when we're talking about your Symantec or your Norton or some of these other things, we are talking about knowing the old viruses, but not knowing the new viruses. So a managed services company, or particularly managed security services company, comes in and they use the professional tools. So here's what happens in the case like with my clients, right? We have a network of literally hundreds of millions of devices worldwide. So we're working with all of these other companies that are providing data points. So if any one of the computers that are part of this network, if any one of my computers gets a virus and it's one we haven't seen before. We're going to analyze it. We're going to trap it. We're going to stop it. And then we're going to tell every one of the other computers about it. In fact, just now, my computer, I'm on a Mac right now. I have a MacBook Pro that I'm using. My computer just got an update from that network. So it knows, hey, here's the latest variants. And it happens almost instantaneously. It's usually within an hour or so. And we've got about 200 engineers that look at these new vulnerabilities and say, how does this differ? How does this vary? Is this really a vulnerability? Is this something we need to let everybody else know about within our network? So that's why. Instead of the 50, 60% effective rate or 0% effective rate against a brand new attack, a brand new virus, instead of that 0% effective rate, you've got a 99% plus effective rate. And then what happens is these other companies, like the normal antivirus companies, they will figure out, oh, wow, hey, wait a minute, there's a virus spreading. And then they will examine it, and they'll make new signatures. They may have to make changes to their engines, and then they'll distribute it. So there's that vulnerability window of weeks instead of an hour or so. Weeks where you're vulnerable. And that's what I keep hammering on. You've got to have the right tool stack, the right software tools that are going to protect you. So right now, as of now, this week, we've got a very virulent attack going on right now. This particular vulnerability is a 0-day attack that's happening against all versions of Flash. Now, remember, people criticize Steve Jobs, right? Here's Steve Jobs saying, hey, listen, here's our iPhone, our brand new iPhone. Isn't this a great device, right? Remember that? And it's a speech that's been analyzed a million times because it was done so well. It was so well presented, and it kicked off a firestorm of people just, wow, I want an iPhone, right? And today we still have those iPhones. They're just wonderful. But Steve Jobs was criticized because the iPhone did not allow Flash to run on it. It didn't support Flash in its browsers. So now you had all of these websites that were using Flash scrambling for something new. And out of that came the HTML5 and some other standards, right? Well, why did Steve Jobs, more than a decade ago now, say, I don't want Flash? Because Flash and Java are two huge entry points for malware onto your computer. So now we have a new Flash vulnerability. Well, it's not a new vulnerability. It's been vulnerable forever. But now it's being used, and the antivirus companies are noticing about this. And it affects, as I said, all versions, including the latest releases for Linux, Mac, Windows, Android, on and on. Okay? So if you don't need Flash, uninstall it. Don't use it. If you're using a Mac and you're using Safari, it's automatically going to try and protect you, and it's going to turn off Flash for you by default. That's a good thing, okay? So right now, absolutely huge. Adobe's released a security advisory about this flaw. They are pretty much all infected. They're hoping to have a patch out next week, okay? And if you're one of my clients listening to the show right now, and I know a lot of my clients do listen in here, and a shout out to our newest clients this week, by the way, but they listen here, you are protected, okay? So don't worry about it here. We've been protecting you since the first day this vulnerability was used, okay? So hopefully something will be out this week. They'll be sending out advisories. Microsoft will and Adobe will. But these particular attacks are using Office documents with embedded malicious Flash content distributed via email. Okay, so all of the same things we've seen over and over and over again. If you're not using a really good managed security services provider, your business, your home, your personal devices are all effective. Get rid of Flash now. That should be a moniker that we have up on the screen. Okay, quick reminder again, make sure you go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe and make sure you're subscribed to my weekly email list. This week we're going to have 2 emails. We got something special coming your way on Wednesday, so keep an eye out for it. craigpeterson.com/subscribe. A free gift from me to you, and share it with your friends. Make sure everybody knows about this. We put a lot of work into the show. I really appreciate it when you get your friends and neighbors to sign up and to listen right here on these radio stations and on the iHeart app. And now, as I said, we are also on Facebook Live. Stick around. When we get back, we're going to talk about the U.S. soldiers that have been revealing sensitive and secret information, top secret information, in fact, in some cases. So stick around. We'll be right back. You're listening to Craig Peterson. Okay. So again, if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you get onto my mailing list. It's very important because there's stuff on my email list you do not get any other way. Important things, okay? Also, you can subscribe to my Facebook group. Now, I have a special group out there that you kind of have to search for. But it's, let me see, I'm going to type this in so you can see it on the screen there. It's called, I think it's eSec Coach, which is the eSecurity Coach. So I'll put that on the video right now so you can find it. Karen, do you want to double check that? I think that's what it's called. eSec Coach. If you just do a search for that, it is on Facebook. So I've got Karen, my wife here. It's our 35th anniversary, by the way, this year. It's a long time to be married. A lot longer than we were single, eh? A long time. And I'd do it all again, no question. Okay, I want to mention this too here. Do this during the break. I'm going to grab some water. Keep that voice going. Microsoft. Wow, they've got an emergency Windows update. I'm going to have to mention this one on the air. Everyone needs to know about that. The jackpotting ATMs. This is kind of interesting. We bought one of these devices just this week for our use to look inside machines to check whether or not there's dust accumulation. We also have generators, of course, and so we want to look inside the gen sets to see if there are any issues. But we're talking about one of these little otoscopes, and they're being used now to target ATMs. They're sticking them inside the ATM, figuring out where the ports are. So, real problem there. All right, coming back here live on the radio. Excuse me. Hey, welcome back. We've been talking about some of the security out there in the Facebook Live feed, which you'll find on my Facebook group. And this will be up on a replay as well. We're talking about jackpotting attacks hitting U.S. ATMs. Hey, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you give me a thumbs up on this so that I know you're watching. I really appreciate it when people do that. But this is kind of big because they're emptying ATMs. That's what jackpotting is all about. It's like you just won, right? And the machine's just spitting out $20 bills until there are none left. Wow, how's that for theft, eh? Oh, by the way, almost impossible to trace. Okay, I was going to talk about this one during the break, but I think everybody needs to hear this. We talked about Intel and how pretty much every Intel chip that's been made for 20 years has a major security vulnerability. Now, it's a little hard to totally exploit, but what bad guys have been doing is using it to crash people's machines. And there have been, I don't know that we've really caught any in the wild. There have been attacks that have stolen sensitive information. That is certainly possible to do with this. So Intel released this update for Windows users to try and work around kind of a fix for their terrible CPU bugs. Okay, there's 2 major bugs. Intel released this fix for Spectre, and Microsoft has been forced to release another security update to deal with the issues that Intel caused by their buggy fix for their buggy hardware. Okay, this is just crazy. Apparently, Intel warned this week, that its own security updates have been so buggy, they've caused some systems to spontaneously reboot. And then Intel buried a warning in its latest financial results that its buggy firmware updates could lead to data loss or corruption. So think about that for a minute. You have a server that's doing database updates, it's doing transactions that are not atomic, and it crashes in the middle of this. Let me tell you, it can be difficult to recover. One of our data centers this week, the week before on Friday, the power company, a local power company, said, hey, listen, we want to change your transformer, the huge transformer for this facility. So they came out, we got a generator for it to be able to run this whole facility, got it in, just rented one, you can rent these huge generators, installed it, tied it into the power panel, cut off the power so the power company could replace this transformer. This transformer is the size of a room. It's absolutely huge. And they replaced it, and we switched back off of the generator power, back on the transformer power. All is good, right? Things are just going great. Hunky-dory. Well, here's what happened. Monday morning, the transformer caught fire. It had an internal fire. I guess you'd call that infant mortality. But when it's the size of a room, okay, you get a little concerned. And everything went down because why? Well, because it switched to battery just like the data center is supposed to do, right? But then it just took too long to get back on street power and generator power. So, ultimately we got back on generator power. But because Friday we had done this switch, everything wasn't all set up to do the failovers and everything that you normally would have happen, right? So everything went down. The database servers went down, the web servers, the mail servers, the backup servers, the file servers. Just think of all the things we have in the data center, right? Think of the things you have in your data room or whatever you have. It was a nightmare, okay? Just terrible. So we had to get back on generator, get that all fixed. So we're back on generator. The power company comes back out. They have to use, of course, a crane to put a new, to remove the old transformer and put a new transformer in. So in the meantime, we're running on the generator. But the electrician did not wire up the generator power to the air conditioning. Now, I remember this. I had this happen with another client back in the 80s. Big data center, big mainframes. And it was a huge building was built full of batteries and generators and everything else, right? They thought of everything except they did not put the AC on the UPS, on the generator or the batteries, right? I don't know that I would put it on the batteries. I think there should be a manual thing to switch to battery power for the air conditioning if you have to do that. I think it makes sense to have it on the generator, but you don't really want to waste battery power because hopefully within a minute or so that generator is online, maybe 5 minutes at the most. So things aren't going to cook themselves in the data room. So they did not have it hooked up at all to any of the emergency power, and they cooked multi-million-dollar mainframe. It was disgusting. This was a banking client. It was just amazing. That was such a big oversight. So in this case, again, they did not hook up. The electrician did not hook up the air conditioning to the generator. So we had the doors open, we had fans running. We have fans there just in case the AC goes off, that fans that are in the racks, okay? So you try and think of everything when you're running data centers for yourself and for other companies. but missed this one. So we spent pretty much the week recovering little problems here and there because you have to boot the equipment in a certain order because some servers are dependent on other servers, and of course the network has to come up first. Just think of all of the nightmares that are part of this whole scenario. Okay, it was absolutely nuts. It was really quite a week. So there are these types of dependencies. And if you've got servers that are using Intel hardware, and most are, we have some servers that use IBM hardware with the power chips, which are, wow, it's just incredible what IBM's been able to do. But if you have Intel-based servers, think about this, right? Think about your server going down hard in the middle of transactions. And you know when it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen right in the middle of month end or year end. It always happens at the worst possible time, the worst possible scenario. So Intel, I've never liked them, frankly. Sorry to my friends that work at Intel. There's some brilliant people there. They produce some good products, but I do not like the design of the chips. And to see Intel, a great company that's been doing some amazing things for years, I think how hard it is to have backwards compatibility going backwards 30, 40 years, frankly, 30 plus years with the Intel CPUs. That takes some real brilliance. But for them to release these buggy updates that are substantially slowing down machines, and according to some of the reports I've read out there, not only slowing down machines, but causing the machines to crash when you put these Intel updates in them, it is crazy. Now, this Microsoft update that backs out the Intel provided update can only be downloaded manually right now. And you can get the information on what to do and how to do it, obviously, right there on my website, craigpeterson.com. Just look for the article titled Microsoft Issues Emergency Windows Update to Disable Intel's Buggy Spectre Fixes. Okay. Microsoft also releasing a new registry key setting for impacted devices, so IT admins can manually disable or enable the Spectre 2 variant protection. So they're putting something in the registry. There's something else in the registry, right? There's nothing in there, and right now it should be easy. Okay. But it's causing unexpected reboot. So if you have servers, you applied this Intel patch, you better back it out pretty quick. All right, when we get back, we are going to talk about U.S. soldiers. This is a story out of Beirut, Lebanon. Okay, that's where I found it. That's their byline here. But U.S. soldiers are inadvertently revealing sensitive and dangerous information right now. And I have warned about this before. What was it, Karen? 3-4 years ago, I think it was. For young ladies, this is a really big deal for them too. So when we get back, we are going to talk about that. You can find all of this information up on my website. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you go online. I'm having fun right now with that Facebook live feed, putting different things up. Make sure you go online and you will find everything there. And please do take a couple of minutes right now and subscribe. I really I've got to beg you guys to subscribe because we've got information coming up on Wednesday. We've got something special coming your way. And the only way you're going to find out about this and benefit from it is if you're on my email list. So again, craigpeterson.com/subscribe. When we get back, we're going to talk about how our soldiers are inadvertently revealing sensitive and top secret information, and how you are too, how this is being used as a tool for rapists as well. So stick around. We'll be right back. You're listening to Craig Peterson. All right. So Jeremy has just cut, and we are going to commercials. Okay. So, thumbs up to all of you guys watching on Facebook. One of the things we're going to try and integrate for next week here on our Facebook feed is we're going to put a little Chiron thing down at the bottom, and it's showing people doing likes and viewers and questions and things. We're getting kind of techy here, right? This is, after all, America's technology expert. And that'll be fun too. We're also posting some of these things elsewhere. So you might be watching this on YouTube as well. And so we're playing around with the YouTube channels, trying to get that all set up. But you know what we should do, Karen? You might send a thing off to Ike's or somebody. We can use the YouTube channel we already have, but make a special group of videos. I forget what they call that on YouTube. Anybody on Facebook know what they call that on YouTube? But put that together so people on YouTube can find these Facebook Lives easily. This VPN thing, everybody needs this. But look at, this is just an article on this. And this thing is 8 pages long. Okay, this is not a simple subject. You'll find this, why VPNs are incredibly important for iOS 11 users. You'll find this up on my website. So if you want to go through it, you can. If you would like me to teach a little course on that, let me know. You can email me, you can text me, whatever is going to be the easiest thing for you, okay, to let me know. I'll put that up on the screen now, but you can just email me at craigpeterson.com, and we always respond. I always see these things. Sometimes it's someone on my team who responds. Got a bunch of people here on the team to support all of you guys, because as I said, we've got 4,500 people on our email list, so there's a lot of questions that come in, and we've got we're approaching 400, I think, on the closed eSecurity Coach, eSec Coach Facebook group as well. We're not going to get to all these articles today. We've got the ransomware tools. Those attacks are the #1 type of breach this year. We just had a hospital that paid $55,000 to recover their data. The NSA, this just upsets me and pisses me off to no end, right? For those civil libertarians out there, using voice recognition. Think about what they could do with the Google Echo, or Google Home and the Amazon Echo. Okay, here we go, back on the excuse me. Hey, a little shout out there to Chardin as well. He's the guy that did the voiceover. He did that years ago, 15 years ago maybe, and we're still using it today. I guess I've threatened to update those, and we just haven't done it yet. I'd love to hear ideas from people. I mentioned near the beginning of the show about what we did in September, where we offered to do a dark web search for people. And the reason we did this is the dark web is this huge place where people go to buy and find data breaches. There's top secret information out there from the government. This is the place where people go for kiddie porn. This is the place where you'll find places to buy drugs. You probably heard about the Silk Road. That was on the dark web. It's crazy, the stuff that's out there. And I was talking with the FBI about this, and we were debating how far to go, because in September, I had my team work on doing searches on the dark web for the listeners that signed up. Now, there were 1,400 listeners that signed up, and it took 5 people, 2 or 3 weeks to complete all these searches. Now, obviously, you can't do a completely comprehensive search on the dark web. No one can, because some of this information is hidden behind servers that require special usernames and passwords that are only given to their friends. But, we found ways to infiltrate some of that stuff, and we did it. We went behind that kimono. And it's constantly changing. We just mentioned this hospital that had their data held hostage. We've had time after time after time our information stolen. So it gets added to the dark web on an hour by hour basis as different databases are compromised, stolen, and put up on the dark web. Okay, so you've got to stay on top of this information. And the only way you're going to stay on top of it, really, is by subscribing or asking questions, right? More than glad to answer anybody's questions. Just go online, go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe, ask your friends to, make sure you do it. I really appreciate it. I hate to beg, but please do this. Again, craigpeterson.com/subscribe. So let's talk about the U.S. soldiers. I don't know how far we're going to get. I'm going to try and get to this Tim Cook article. We've got others like this NSA voice recognition. We've got new stats out about the top breaches this year, how they're affecting individuals and businesses that we're probably not going to get to. It's just, there's never enough time, which is why you got to make sure you subscribe, because I send you all this information plus a little bit more every Saturday morning. craigpeterson.com/subscribe. Now, U.S. soldiers, right? My hat's off. I salute all of you who have served our military. I'm not a very good saluter. That I have a daughter who was 10 years in the U.S. Navy Reserve. I have another son who was on that track, but kind of moved on, decided he wanted to do something a little bit different. But I know a little bit about this. Never was in the military myself. But when you think of a soldier, what do you think of? And it brings different images to mind. My image is of someone who's in great physical shape, who loves their country, and is trying to protect us, their fellow countrymen. And men, women, every ethnic creed you can think of, the military personnel are across the board. And again, I salute every last one of them. It's not an easy choice to make, and it's not an easy thing to do, no question about that. Well, when you're talking about them and you're thinking about them, picture a veteran in your mind. Think about active military, even better. Picture someone active military in your mind, and you're going to see in your mind's eye someone who's in great physical shape. Twice a year they have to pass physical tests, right? 4 times now, my wife is pointing out, 4 times a year they have to pass physical tests. Well, that's a very big deal. So what do? They go jogging, right? They do push-ups, they do chin-ups, they work with weights, they do everything they can to stay in shape. Well, one of the things that many people have done is they get the Fitbits, right? I know I have a daughter that has a Fitbit. She loves it because she can compete against other people with that Fitbit. She can track what she's doing, how many calories she has burned, what she needs to do, when, where she needs to do it, right? The Fitbit's been just a wonderful thing for her. She absolutely loves it. And our soldiers are using these Fitbits as well. In fact, I know some people, I know one guy in particular, that I'm thinking of. He has the Apple Watch. I don't have an Apple Watch, okay? If you want to send me one, go ahead. I do not have an Apple Watch, but he has an Apple Watch. But he stopped wearing it because he loves his Fitbit. And right now, the apps are not there for the Apple Watch that he really loves on the Fitbit. So he is using his Fitbit and just absolutely loves it, bottom line. It's just a great device for him. And military personnel are using them like crazy. Well, remember that your Fitbit has built into it GPS, global positioning system, receivers that it records. And then your Fitbit ties into maybe your iPhone or your Android device via Bluetooth. Maybe you upload it to your computer. There's a lot of ways to use your Fitbit, and it can be a great thing. A company out there called Strava says it has 27 million users around the world, including people who are using Fitbit, and Jawbone has one as well as people who subscribe directly to its mobile app, because just using your smart device, you can use this app. So it has a global heat map Are you familiar with heat maps? You've seen those before? These are those maps. One of the ones I've used is heat maps of the Google homepage or of a website, so we know what people are looking at, right? And that's great information. Well, this is showing where people are jogging and running. So think about this for a second. Whoa, wait a minute. There's a concentration of people using Fitbits at this location in Afghanistan, or maybe at this location in country X, which you can reasonably draw the conclusion that maybe there's a military base there, and that's what has happened here. It's showing accumulated activity between 2015 and September last year. Millions of people use this, but when we're talking about war zones and deserts in countries like Syria and Iraq, guess what? We're talking about likely military bases. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that these Fitbits are also being used to track joggers in Central Park and specific people, where they are, what they're doing. And now you see my concern for the private citizen as well. Okay, go right now, if you haven't already, to this URL. Open your web browser. Go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe. You'll get my weekly show notes. You'll get my weekly email. You'll get my security alerts. And this week, keep an eye on your email, because Wednesday, I've got something special for you. It'll be coming out. So it won't be my normal show notes. It come out Saturday morning. It'll be something special. Worth a lot, let me tell you. So keep an eye out. craigpeterson.com/subscribe. Have a great week. We'll see you online. We'll be back next Saturday with another live show. You're listening to Craig Peterson. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Okay, we are off the air. Thanks for all of you people who are out there watching on Facebook. And I just absolutely love it. I appreciate what you're doing, okay? I just totally appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can always text me. But since you're on Facebook, I suspect that email might work for you. And that's just the me@craigpeterson.com. You'll find, if you do a search for the ESEC Coach, you'll find me out there. I also have my Tech Talk web page, my regular show page. I think there's about 700 people who have liked that page. But I will let you in if you mention you heard about it here from my live radio show. I'll let you into my closed eSecurity Coach group. So have a look for that as well. Any questions? Email them. If there's topics you want me to cover in a Facebook Live or here on the radio, make sure you send that to me as well. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. This has really been quite cool. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a great week. We'll probably be back on Wednesday, maybe before. Bye-bye.